Oh, meschino. Hello guys, it has been a long time since we met, and today old Stefano is gonna tell you a good and whole story about Perfecto Mundo. It was the end of 2017 and I was younger, stronger and projectless. Ora però parlo con la mia voce, sennò... At the end of 2017 I just moved to Arco to find a new project, and then I decided that the next project should have been much harder than the previous one. So I wanted to find something in Catalonia, in Spain. I had few options actually at that time. The first option was Golpe de Estado, which is a 9B that Chris Sharma put up many years ago and repeated just by Adam Ondra. The second option was La Capella, which was a 9B put up in 2011 by Adam Ondra. And the third option was an old project from Chris Sharma, which was called Perfecto Mundo. So I first tried Golpe de Estado for one day, and then I figured out there was a super long move and I was having hard time on doing that. The next day I tried La Capella, and I could do all the moves pretty soon, and I thought, okay, this could be one of the projects. And then I tried Perfecto Mundo. I heard about Perfecto Mundo the first time from Adam Ondra. He saw my video on dementia senile and he told me I should go to Margalef again and try Perfecto Mundo, which was supposed to be the first 9B plus of the war, but then it was abandoned from him to try La Dura Dura together with Adam. Adam told me that Perfecto Mundo could fit my style because it is with pocket, overhanging, and is like the hardest and longer version of Dementia Senile, which I climbed 2 years earlier. So I abandoned Golpe de Estado almost immediately and decided to focus on La Capella and Perfecto Mundo. It was winter and I had enough time to try both projects at the same time. And for more or less 2 weeks I tried both projects at the end of 2017. Trying to improve on both, and I was improving a lot faster on La Capella, so at that time I decided to focus more on La Capella and trying to send it as fast as possible. I found a new beta from Adam version and I did the second ascent of La Capella, which at that time was 9B. In the future he was downgraded to 9A class, and now maybe it's even easier, and now we are in 2050 and maybe La Capella is like warm-up for the young guns. In January 2018 I sent La Capella, but I knew it wasn't like the next level project. I hadn't a lot of time to try Perfecto Mundo again in that trip. So for sure I knew I wanted to have a new trip on Perfecto Mundo. When I was at home I set a replica of Perfecto Mundo, of the cracks of Perfecto Mundo in my garage, but the replica was like not the replica 3D printed replica or the replica we have today. Today we have like perfectly 3D scan replica of the whole route. With a lot of money, but at that time we didn't have that technology, so we just took some holes that were similar and set it on the wall. This was the replica we have. And so I decided to set the replica of the cracks of Perfecto Mundo to train for my second trip, which will be at the end of March 2018. Chris Sharma first bolted the version Gancio Perfecto, which is a 9A/plus, and then when he was climbing this route, when he was racing, he figured out there was like a harder version of it, more on the left. So he saw this route and he thought it would work to bolt it, and then when he bolted, he realized this would be the next level for climbing. At that time, there weren't any 9B pluses. There were just a few, actually very few 9Bs, and he understood immediately that it would be the next level for the moment. But at the end, he tried it a lot, but then he decided to change his project and go with Adam Honda to try and do La Dura Dura, which then he became the second 9B plus of the world. Adam did the first ascent and Chris like a month later the second ascent. So Perfecto Mundo then it was a bit of forgotten, and for this reason I decided to focus on it and try to do the first ascent of probably 9B plus. At that time there were many 9B plus, there were 3, so Perfecto Mundo would have been the 4th 9B plus of the world. It is located in Racco della Finestra, which is a huge and overhanging crag of Margalef. Margalef is famous for its pocket and sharp pocket style with a long or short route. Racco della Finestra is a longer sector, so like the route is more or less 35 to 40 meters long. It starts with, in common with Gancio Perfecto, the common part is around 8C, and then from a rest, not so good rest, Gancio Perfecto goes on the right and Perfecto Mundo goes on the left. From this point, Perfecto Mundo starts with like a 10 intense move to the cracks, the famous cracks of Perfecto Mundo, which is a one finger pocket with the right hand and a jump to a left pinch. Already on the first day I could do it as a single move, but like starting 2 or 3 moves below felt impossible at the beginning. So my main quest was to try to do this move starting just below the cracks. At the second trip I was already falling at the cracks starting from the ground. So the improvements on the route were like very slow, because I couldn't feel any improvement, like I always falling at the same move even from the second trip, and it was hard to tell if I was improving or not. After the cracks it is still super hard, because there is a hard section of 8B plus route, and the last part is a mantle from like the most overhanging part to a slab. This is still hard and still very possible to fall, and then there is like a 7A plus slab, so quite easy and like enjoyable slab, which is weird from my side to say enjoyable slab, because I usually don't enjoy slab. Let me know if you enjoy slab or not. I don't. So in that second trip, when I was not improving on Perfecto Mundo, I decided to change my project and try my side project Gancio Perfecto, which has the same part, the same start part, and then goes on the right. So in that trip I focused on that one, and after a few tries I could climb Gancio Perfecto.
Vale. Dai, Sì, sta. Vale, cattivo. Vale. Sì, sta.
And then, after my second trip, Alex Megos wrote me that he wanted to try the route too. It was an open project from Chris Sharma, so we asked him if it was possible to try, and he was super psyched for us to try. So when I came for the third trip, Alex Megos was already there trying the route. And for quite a few days we tried the route together. And it was the best moment because we shared a lot of moments, we danced together, and at the end of the trip even Chris Sharma joined us to try the route again. And this impressed me a lot because it was not in his best shape, but he was able to do like the whole hard section in a row that at that time on my third trip I couldn't climb like Chris did, and this was impressive from his side. And at the end of that trip, Alex Megos fell 2 times holding the last pinch, the last pinch of the cracks. And the very last day of the trip, he was able to send Perfecto Mundo, and I was belaying him, so I became a 9B plus belayer. It motivated me even more because I was psyched to try it. We weren't battling for the first ascent, we were just together teaming up to try to beat Perfecto Mundo. And Alex did it in May of 2018, and I was even more motivated to try it and try to send it. After my trip in May, it was starting to be too warm in Margalef to try Perfecto Mundo. So I focused on competition, and I won a couple of competition of World Cup competition in Chamonix and Cran in 2018, but at the end of 2018 I finished second place in the World Cup. In the meantime, I organized my 4th and 5th trip to Perfecto Mundo. The 4th trip was not a big improvement because I tried to send the route and I was always falling at the same move. So it was hard mentally, probably the hardest thing I faced in my life of climbers, because I couldn't see any improvements for like even the second trip to the last trip, because I always falling at the same move. And it was hard because I had to rely on my feelings to know if I was improving or not. And on my 4th trip I could feel some improvements because I could hold the holds for like a bit more milliseconds than the last trip, and this was the only improvement I could feel. And at the end of the trip I knew it was possible to send it in the next one. In the 5th trip I knew I was able to send Perfecto Mundo, but the weather was not on my side. It was raining a lot on that trip and the whole second section was wet. So I could try the route up to the cracks. I could even do the cracks as a single move, but from the ground was impossible because the pinch was wet. So I spent a lot of time crying, no, not true, but I spent a lot of time trying the route without the possibility to actually send it, and I was kind of sad. But I knew with like the perfect condition on the next trip it would be possible to send it.
No. Oof.
In December 2018, me and Sarah prepared the van. We actually have 1 month time to try and stay in Margalef. So we drove from Arco to Margalef for more than 12 hours. And we decided to stay in a camping to have more time to stay if needed. So we said the camping guy, okay, we are here, we don't know how many days we will stay. We actually stay until I send the route. So it could be a short trip or it could be a very long trip. So on the first day I fell again 2 times on the cracks. But this time I knew I was close. On my second day of this 6th trip, I fell again at the cracks, and then on my second try of the day, I could, for the first time, stack the pinch of Perfecto Mundo. And this felt unreal because it was the first time and I couldn't believe I did the move. While I was doing it, I was thinking, what am I doing? I'm just flying. And then I realized, okay, I just stuck the pinch, but I haven't climbed the route. So I focused again and climbed the next part with more motivation, and I didn't fall on the second part of the route. So for the first time that I stuck the pinch of Perfecto Mundo, I was able to climb the whole route. And it was the second day of this trip. So at the end we decide, okay, the job is done, we go home. The 1 month trip became like a 2 days trip to Margalef. We basically went to Margalef for a weekend, but it was worth it because I finally realized my dream and climbed my first 9V+. I tried the first time Perfecto Mundo on December 8, 2017 and climbed it on December 7th of 2018. So it was exactly 1 year trip, 1 year journey, and it was a beautiful experience because it was frustrating, yes, but there were a lot of moments where I felt like climbing at its best because I share a lot of good moments with friends. I share a lot with Alex Megos trying the route. I share a moment with the bolter of Perfecto Mundo, Sharma, and I feel like the best thing about Perfecto Mundo was this sharing experience where nobody wanted to look stronger compared to others, but we were teaming up to try to beat the route Perfecto Mundo. And it was one of the best experiences in my life, in my long and old life, because these moments were some of the best. Not because of the difficulty of the route, not because it was my first 9V+, but because the experience around it, it was 1 year experience and it was unforgettable. At the end, it was kind of unexpected that I could send it like on the second day of that trip. And it also because it is a lot sharp on the one finger pocket, and every time I tried, after like 3 days, I split my fingers, and with like the tape or with the blood on my finger, I couldn't even do the single move of the cracks. So it was necessary for me to send it like as soon as possible on the first part of the trip, because otherwise with a split or with tape would be impossible. But fortunately it was Alex Megos that taught me how to tape perfectly my finger.
You start going
The master at work.
down on the finger, and you see how there's this cross pattern starting.
Yeah.
So it goes like that all the way to the second joint of the finger. So when you arrive at the end, you've got this pattern all the way, and it looks nice and beautiful.
That's the most important
That's the most important thing. And then if you got a little bit over, you can sometimes do like one cross over like that, and then you rip it on the top. And there you go.
Voila.
Voila.
It's super glue on the bottom, huh? Important.
Yeah. You want to make sure that everywhere where there's tape, there's super glue. And then it sticks like hell.
But anyway, for me with the tape was impossible to try to send the route. I can compare Perfecto Mundo to the other 9B pluses, and I think it is probably one of the hardest, because it took me like 1 year, which is a long time. I think I was like not in my best shape of my life. Maybe when I sent Excalibur I was much stronger, and that's why maybe Excalibur took me like less days. But I think between Excalibur and Perfecto Mundo they could be like the same difficulty, like they're like both 9B pluses, but probably bibliography and change they're like a bit easier. So I think Excalibur and Perfecto Mundo could be like hard 9B plus, while bibliography could be like normal 9B plus, and change could be like low level 9B plus, like entry level 9B plus. I think they are like solid 9B pluses. Some of them are easier, some of them are harder, but it depends also on the style. And on Perfecto Mundo, I think like it's one of the routes where I struggle most. And this was the story of Perfecto Mundo, my first 9B plus, and one of the best experiences in my life. Thank you for listening the old Stefano, and if you want you can subscribe to Stefano's channel, because now I have millions and millions of subscribers because I'm old and experienced, but like the young Stefano has a bit less. So if you can subscribe, you can help him a lot. Thank you very much for listening me and my whole stories, and see you on the next Rewind.